9 Eastern.
Joining me now, conservative activist and former presidential candidate Gary Bauer. Thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure to be with you.
Now that I have you here, you have spent a lifetime on a lot of the social issues, the so-called values voter issues. That has been, to me, sort of noticeably absent in this particular campaign. And I wanted to read you a couple things that two Republicans have said, because it's even Republicans who seem to be much more focused elsewhere. And the first came from John Cornyn. As you know, he went and spoke to log cabin Republicans. And when Tony Perkins, a friend of yours from the Family Research Council, objected, Cornyn wrote him and said, listen, part of my job is to reach out to those committed to defeat Senate Democrats this November. The log cabin Republicans, that is gay Republicans, are doing just that. And then Governor Mitch Daniels, who I'm sure you also know of Indiana, yes, said this about social issues. The next president would have to call a truce on the so-called social issues. We're, meaning Republicans, going to just have to agree to get along for a little while until the economic issues are resolved. So are social issues off the table?
No, social issues aren't off the table, and both of the gentlemen that you quoted are friends of mine, and I work with them on many issues, but I would say with all due respect on this, they're absolutely wrong. I would say to Governor Mitch Daniels, you know, it's not our side that has declared war on social issues. I would love to be able to call a truce on it. The reason the social issues are in such play so many years is that others have declared war. There's a major movement going on in this country to change the definition of marriage. Now, if Mitch Daniels thinks he can call a truce on that, that would be great. But as long as people are pushing to change the definition of marriage, there are going to be millions of Americans that say, no, we want marriage to stay between one man and one woman.
I do want to move on to the money issues, but I think that what they're trying to say is the Republican Party, if it has a narrow base, cannot win and do anything. People are concerned about the economy. We need to do that instead of bringing up, which really are divisive issues, particularly when you look at the independents, things like gay marriage, other things like abortion. These are all issues that tend to particularly divide the independents whose votes you need.
Look, all these issues, every issue is divisive in America today. Are my Republican friends going to tell me that reforming Social Security is not divisive? Of course it is. The whole tax cut debate is a very divisive issue. These values issues actually expand the Republican Party. They don't narrow it. Independent doesn't equate to moderates. Millions of independents are pro-life. Millions of independents believe marriage is between a man and a woman. One more quick point on this, Candy. There was a vote in California, a very liberal state, on the marriage question just a couple of years ago. In Los Angeles, which John McCain lost massively, the people of Los Angeles voted overwhelmingly to keep marriage between one man and one woman. And those were essentially African-American and Hispanic voters. So these values issues, I would say to my Republican friends, are what we need to grow the party, not to shrink it.
Let me turn you to the money question. You are co-chair of one group that is putting ads on the air, usually concerning people's candidates' support for or against Israel, and do not disclose the donors. Would you do that? Would you give me the name of the donors for those ads?
No, of course not.
Why not?
Well, because these are issue ads, and under the laws of the United States and repeated court rulings.
But they're attacking Joe Sestak, so that's not quite an issue ad. That's like, don't vote for this guy.
No, it doesn't. It never says in the ad, don't vote. If you say vote for or vote against, then it is a direct political ad.
That's
and the law requires.
That's a nuance.
Well, look,
I think voters don't come away from that thinking, oh, I shouldn't vote for Joe Sestak.
I don't write the laws, and I don't make the court decisions. And the courts have said, for very good reasons, I might say, that in these kinds of ads, there doesn't have to be disclosure. The first court decision on this involved the NAACP in Alabama. Somebody wanted to get their list of donors. Bigots wanted to get the list of donors so they could harass the people that were donating to the NAACP. The reason this disclosure issue is so important, Candy, quite frankly, is that on the left in this country, there has been in recent years campaigns of intimidation and outright thuggery when people have put their names on the line and promoted conservative ideas.
So you're saying that the main reason that you wouldn't tell me the donors who are putting ads up trying to influence the outcome of an election, you're telling me that they are afraid that they'll be harassed if people know they are pro-Israel?
I think one of the factors is that some of these folks are Democrats and they don't want to alienate Democratic friends and people that they work with.
Democracy is all about? You stand up and you say, here's what I'm for, here's what I'm against. Isn't democracy about someone being able to look at the television and go, oh, this Democrat put out this ad against this Democrat, that's interesting. If they don't know, it is coming at them in a vacuum.
Well,
is that democracy?
Well, Candy, where was all this concern about democracy when Barack Obama 2 years ago was raising a massive amount of money, more than any time in the history of the United States? He had tens of thousands of donations that he did not disclose the names of. There's a lot of evidence that many of those donations may in fact have come from foreign citizens, not Americans. In fact, there was a couple of brothers in Gaza who gave $17,000 to the Obama campaign, and they gave that money back only after outside groups found that problem and disclosed it. So for Mr. Axelrod and these guys suddenly to be on their high horse and say that they're defending democracy, when for years the left has done this, including the unions, and nobody said a word.
Gary Bauer, I can't thank you enough for coming in and joining us. This is an interesting discussion. As always, gets people moving in the morning, doesn't it?
It sure does.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Before